This is true.
Call this meeting of the Union County Land Use Board, February 25th, to order. Everyone would please stand. We will say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Mr. Austin will lead us in a prayer.
Heavenly Father, dear God, we can come before you tonight. We just thank you so much, Lord, for our many blessings. And we thank you for this beautiful day, Lord, and thank you for the opportunity for us to be here tonight and just lead and guide us, dear God, and help us make the right decisions for this beautiful Union County, Lord, that we're so blessed to live in. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, sir.
All right. All right. Established voting members. We have all of our regular members here tonight. So we are a full board. We also have our two alternates with us tonight. Next item is additions and or deletions. Do we have any additions or deletions, staff? Hearing none, move on to approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 28th.
The agenda. We're approving the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda? Okay, second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now, move on to approval of the minutes, January 28th. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the January 28th minutes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, we're getting right on along here to our next item, which is rural land use plan update. Mr. Bjorn, if you would come forward and please introduce our guest tonight. And
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here to introduce Mr. Alan Baucom, who serves as the chairman of our Rural Land Use Plan Steering Committee. He's going to provide an update. They meet monthly. Today they actually approved the vision statement that is being presented to you now, so you're receiving some pretty fresh information. This will go to the Board of Commissioners in a couple weeks. And so Alan's been pretty instrumental, and I want to thank him for his leadership on this committee.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow, I thought you could say more than that.
welcome, Mr. Baucom. For those who don't know,
Good evening,
for those who don't-
afternoon, evening, whichever the case may
for
be.
those who don't know, Mr. Baucom used to sit up here as a county commissioner, so he's not a guest here. He's a regular. So we welcome you back.
Well, thank you, Darren. I appreciate it. No, as Bjorn said, I'm privileged to serve as chairman of this Land Use Planning Steering Committee. And with that, one of the responsibilities is to provide periodic updates to this board, as well as to the Board of County Commissioners. And one of the things that we, as a steering committee, look for is feedback from this board. So I'm going to go through a set of slides that I spent hours on hours preparing. What are you grinning about, lady?
Did you do it by yourself, Mr. Malcolm? Or did you have help?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If it had been by myself, it'd have been one slide, maybe. No, but as we go through this, what I'm asking is if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have thoughts, let's make this interactive if we can. Because again, this is a steering committee, and we're charged with developing strategies, and strategies to bring to this board as well as to the Board of County Commissioners. But the feedback that we get from you as a board and from the county commissioners as a board is very important to the strategies that we develop. So And several of you were on this board as it was going back into 21 when the 2050 program was developed. And out of that came recommendations. And one of those recommendations was from the commissioners in February of 24 that a steering committee be developed for preservation or development of how to protect, how to go forward in the rural land use planning. There was a partner that was procured in June of 24 for $10,000, and it was a cost share, $10,000 from the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, as well as equal funding by the Union County Board of Commissioners for $10,000. So, and then the steering committee was recruited in July and August of 24, and we met for the first time in October of 24. And as you'll see, we have a finite completion date on our calendar, but before we get there, this is a map that I suspect most of you have seen maybe many times. And the green here is the agricultural areas of Union County. And there are lots of us in the county that want to make certain that this county does not become a Mecklenburg or an Atlanta or whatever. And as just a little background, Mecklenburg County hired their first farmland preservation director in 23.
Waited too late.
A little late? Yeah.
Too late.
So I think as Thomas Jefferson said, that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Next best time is today. So this is today. And this is part of the strategy is how do we go forward? What strategies do we use to go forward for preservation of open space, preservation of farmland, preservation of green space, preservation of environmental concerns? How do we protect all of these factors? So some of the trends that we see developing, small subdivisions, and the growth projections. The work from home, which COVID accentuated certainly, people moving in for a rural character, but still wanting then the amenities and services from the cities where they moved from. Ouch. Event venues, where it be for weddings, parties, corral, or rodeos, whatever it is. Contracting businesses that run out of the homes. And I know you guys deal with these zoning issues probably routinely. And road safety. Lots of the roads that we have in Union County, probably a better way to state it, very few of the roads in Union County are suited for the growth that we're experiencing. Maybe none. The clear cutting of trees impacting sensitive areas, and this goes to runoff, to water conservation, to soil erosion, to these types of factors. Protecting prime agricultural lands. You know, those of us with agricultural heritage want to see this heritage preserved. We want to see the opportunity for agriculture to continue to flourish. Union County is ranked number 3 in the state in agricultural production. Union County, sitting here in the shadows of Mecklenburg. That's quite a statement to make. But the agricultural businesses that operate here are certainly one of the unique contributing factors that allow or encourage or create the situations that people want to move here for. And but the challenge is, how do we take and preserve the agricultural businesses with the people moving in? It's a conundrum and a challenge. But if we don't address it now, we'll be looking back and saying, oops, why didn't we? Identifying retail locations. These are just some of the trends that we're looking at. The timeline for this project, like I say, we met the first time in October. We're projecting to meet the last time in a year from now, February of 26. And we're looking for this board to make their recommendations and for the county commissioners to make their recommendations in April of 26. So in government timeline, pretty doggone fast. So we're trying not to let, and these two guys sitting right here are the impetus on this, let the moss grow under our proverbial feet. I want to keep it moving because these things are critical. The role of the steering committee, what it's charged with is to guide and provide feedback to the staff, present updates to you guys and to the Board of Commissioners, review and recommend results to the Land Use Board and the Board of Commissioners, and share information from this process with the public as what's going on. And at the same time, it doesn't say it here, but to get feedback from the public. And we just got through with doing the vision statement, and we got lots of feedback from the public on this vision statement. It was pretty quick the way we did it, but we had a little over 210 responses, I think, from the public across the county. And it was across the county. So it was broad-based, and it was very good. Partners for Green Growth, and this is North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. Their program, it provides non-regulatory recommendations for habitat conservation in comprehensive and future land use plans, transportation plans, and ordinances. Theirs is they've got lots of history where they've worked with other counties, and they're bringing that information back to us as to what they've seen work, not work, effective, maybe not so effective, to where we can, I hate to say pick and choose, but where we can mold, massage, and develop it into a strategy for Union County. The goal is to provide support for local government planning projects that consider wildlife and natural resource conservation in the land use and development planning, in the incentives and in ordinances. Theirs is about the wildlife and natural resources, which is a key component of it. Lots of people move here for that. And as we go forward, it's integral into how we preserve the open space that we have. Like I said before, there's 10,000 that they provided with a matching program from Union County. They began in October and 18 months to complete it. And anytime you have questions or thoughts, please bring forward.
Al, oh,
Yes, sir, Rick.
go ahead, Rick.
Going back over to where clear cutting trees impacting sensitive areas. And then over here, on the one you're talking about now, is the wild, on the one before, the wildlife, where they're trying to preserve the wildlife growth in Union County. What type of effect with, and I'm not meaning no disrespect to anybody, I'm just questioning and wondering, with the amount of land that's being cleared in Union County, especially south of Monroe, is this affecting the wildlife habitat in any way, or is anybody watching that, or is anybody keeping track with it? I'm just curious.
The North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission they are watching it. How closely they're tracking it, I don't know. Bjorn, do you have any, or Lee, can you speak to it any better? I know that they are tracking it. The one thing that I heard today that was a little surprising to me, that if you go back, and Bjorn, help me on this, but I think 10 years ago, the amount of woodland that we have today is about equal.
Yes, this is the land cover analysis that we did from 2014 to 2020, and the percent of Union County that's covered by trees is essentially the same. It may have differed by less than 0.1%, but the difference was how much of the forest was found in large contiguous forests versus just scattered on residential lots.
Yeah, that's good. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes to how developments are developed, which clusters, how the open space or how it's situated, how it's sited, as to how effective it is for wildlife and for environmental conservation. It can be the same, but one be effective and the other one be less effective. So,
Mr. Austin?
Mr. Austin.
Alan,
yes, sir.
I was just curious, the 210 responses that you had, what were the consensus? I mean, were they all shared our same thoughts on, keeping the green space and
Yeah.
protecting the ag?
Well, it was a variety of responses. I can tell you the number one response was that they wanted to see agriculture maintained. That was number one. I think 54%, did I recall that, Bjorn?
I think that was the number of responses, but that's a slide that's coming up that gives
Oh, is it
the
coming up?
breakdown of the feedback.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll get to it. Excuse me for interrupting you, that you asked too early. You're way ahead of it, Derek.
Forward thinker.
Since I prepared these slides, you'll know how, you're seeing how I know what's in them.
And we appreciate the time you took to do this also.
Well, I appreciate it, Rick. I suspect all of you know that kind of like what happens, staff does it. Staff is really important, right, Amy? Yes. So the eligible activities of this wildlife resources of green growth was develop background supporting information for an ordinance, create that model ordinance, and that was examples of what I spoke about with other counties, craft conservation development or land use guidelines to be considered, not as fact, to be considered by a governing board, and evaluating and prioritizing land for conservation easements, about how this can work, and to write plans. And you'll note there that The adoption of any plan, incentive, ordinance, or guidance document is not a condition for reimbursement of this $10,000. That $10,000 is good irregardless. They're committed on that. Then we have Catawba Lands Conservancy that is involved in this as well. And Catawba Land Conservancy does lots of good. Most of you are probably familiar with them. And I'll make this statement that I do sit on the board of directors for Catawba Land Conservancy. I consider myself to be the outlier there because I'm the only agricultural person there. I'm the only person that is in business that the land is critical to the success of the business. Most of them, and I'm not trying to discredit them at all, but most of them come from the institutions, and they're there because of contributions. And but this is good too because they need this for the conservation element. But their role is to assist in the development of conservation recommendations for this rural land use plan, analyze available data sets and the existing county priorities to identify quality farmland and wildlife habitat, to prioritize it for the conservation, provide recommendations for appropriate conservation measures, and then verify conservation areas identified through the planning process and to modify recommendations as findings develop. We had a presentation today by Sean Bloom from Catawba Land, and they have taken this county and they've modeled it on a 30-meter by 30-meter grid of the entire county. Is it in here?
No, that's an abstract.
Okay. I'm only asking to see if he's looked at them.
Now, when you're saying 30-meter plan, translate that to feet,
All right,
inches, or miles, or whatever.
All right, 100 feet by the 30 meters wide, it would be about 6 football fields.
Okay.
And so they took each snapshot of what is there and put that on the map. It's more condensed, more concise than what we have in any other maps that I've seen. But during Sean's presentation, there was 2 or 3 situations that came up where people said, hey, such and such on your map doesn't look quite right. I think it's more this. And he made his note and he said, I'll check it. I'll confirm it. What I'm saying is, just because he has the data set that's showing it, because he got data sets from NRCS, from USDA, from these types, and he's looking to keep it as accurate, make it as accurate and as current as he possibly can. So I applaud him for that. It's not just someone that's making a presentation and saying, whoop, this is it, and moving on. What is a vision statement? Well, we're going to be redundant here for most of you, but a vision statement is a written document that describes Union County's long-term goals and aspirations for the future. Serves as a roadmap and inspiration for the community. It communicates value, the organization's value, and the commitment to achieving its goals. It guides direction for the organization's direction and the purpose. Inspires growth, inspires the organization's growth, and it uses intentionally abstract language rather than being vivid. Want it to where it can allow the mind to to think broadly. And it can be daring, distinct, or disagreeable. This is the vision statement. This is the latest one that we approved as a steering committee today. I'll read it. In the rural areas of Union County, we cherish a way of life where farms and protected open spaces define our community. As stewards of the land, we treasure the balance between living close to nature and preserving our agricultural heritage. Expanses of production farmland remind us daily of where our food comes from, and by adding options for property owners, lowering density, and enhancing environmental protection requirements, we preserve our natural resources and encourage public appreciation while ensuring agriculture thrives. This approach will sustain our rural character and provide a vibrant future for generations to come. I'm pausing because if anyone has comments, please make them.
I've got one, Alan.
Yes, sir,
And get this
David.
on over here before you get done, and I don't know, I don't know most of these people on this board very well. I know Derek, I know you, and they may not know me. I live on a tract of land that's been in the family since 1950. Others probably maybe live on a tract of land that's been there way past that. That land's worth a lot of money. Developers would like to have it. Let's go another direction. Derek's been working a farm for 10 years, and his landlord died, and all the kids want is this. How can, what is, am I just not seeing it? Is there something here in the works to help set that aside some way? And that, I mean, Derek can't pay but so much for it to keep row cropping it. They're not gonna sell it to him for that.
Yes, sir.
Is there some compensation somewhere in this Catawba Land Conservancy or something like that? Or is the county looking at helping with that? I mean, is that part of what this $10,000 was, which, I mean, I'll stop. I could keep, I mean,
Yeah.
you understanding what I'm saying?
I understand, and let me restate and see if I'm capturing what you're saying, David, is that you have a value to a development value, and you have a present use value,
That's right.
right? And that disparity is going this way,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And as the landowners with the affinity to the land pass, sometimes the next generation or succeeding generation is looking to capture that differential. Right?
Yes.
Am I capturing? am I-
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's not part of this presentation, Bjorn, but the county program, may I? Okay. So, the commissioners made a presentation to the commissioners in November of '23, I think. And I chaired the Soil and Water Conservation District at that time. And so we put together a package, a request for the commissioners. And this request was that we take these refunds that where land comes out of present use value, ag program, whatever you want to call it, but the present use value, when it comes out, there's a 3-year clawback, look back, right?
Yeah, I'm paying it right now.
Okay, but that money, that 3-year penalty, if you will, for taking it out. What we asked the commissioners for was for those funds. And those funds to be used for the purchase of development rights for, in agricultural properties. Coming out of agriculture, let's go buy development rights. Commissioners approved it. In '23, that amount was $969,000, I think was the number. In '24, and not only did they approve it for 1 year, they approved it in perpetuity. And as like I've said before, as I understand it, that's a long time. So now, that doesn't mean that another board can't change it. But presently, it's an ongoing program that those funds are used. In second meeting in January? Was it February? Yeah, first meeting, yeah, in February, just did it. Where the commissioners accepted approved the purchase of the properties. There's 2 that are donated, 1 is purchased. And the purchase, David, goes to, it's 70, in this case, it's 70% or 75, 70%, I think, of the difference between the present use value and the tax real value. And that 70% goes to the landowner. Now, $969,000 doesn't go far in purchasing development rights in Union County. So let's just put that on the board right off. But again, this is a start, and I applaud the commissioners for taking this initiative, because this is the first time this has been done by a government entity in Union County. And the first property is, well, I live on Morgan Mill Road, and the first property is Morgan Land at Rocky River, which the Morgan Mill Road is named after. It's on the river. It meets all the criteria. It's where the old Morgan Mill sat. So,
Just so I'm understanding completely now, the county compensated 70% of the value?
yes,
The difference between the present use
and the tax value.
tax.
Right, that tax value, I think that they had it, the tax value, and this is not a developer value. This is a tax value at $10,000. In other words, they got about 7,000 an acre, thereabouts, 7,500. But anyway, this is that first step. Now, how do we go forward? Do the best we can. Now, the Soil and Water Conservation District holds these titles. It's not held by the commissioners. It's held by Soil and Water Conservation District. And they will go to the federal government and to the state government to try to get grants to take and reimburse as much of that funding as it can. So as this program continues on, hopefully it becomes not self-supporting, but that there's more funds available to take and feed it. And hopefully there's grants from other entities, where it be a Duke Endowment or whatever. I'm just using that as an example, that other funds want to take and help Union County conserve or open space. So, yes, sir, Rick.
One thing that's hurting the rural area of Union County is you've got a senior citizen, 75, 78 years old. Got 25 acres of land. 15 acres is in wooded area. 10 acres is open, borderline whether they can even put it in a farm program or not. The senior citizens can't afford to pay the taxes that's coming due on it, so they have no other option but to sell it to a developer. Just something for future thought. I don't know what can be done about that, but in order for them to sustain life, they have to sell it to pay the taxes on the residents, so that comes out and goes to a developer.
Or sell the timber.
Yeah, it's just things to think about, and it's really the land that's been in the family for so many years. When it comes down to the seniors that are living there, can't afford to pay taxes on the property, then something is, I'm not saying anybody can do anything about it, but it's food for thought.
Well, if somebody can do something about everything, is my approach. Now, it may take a long time, but if it's never tried, it'll never get done.
A good example, I got a 55-acre farm down at Wingate. If it wasn't in the land use program, I couldn't afford to pay taxes on it. And I'm 74 years old.
There's lots of land in this county, were it not for the present use value program, taxes could not be paid.
That's exactly right. So I don't know if something could be done for the taxes value on farmland or something could be changed to help correct this, but it's sad to see an elderly couple that's been living there for 75, 80 years having to sell it because they can't afford to keep it. That's
I agree.
bad.
Those are state laws,
I understand.
and, but we have entourage in Raleigh that the impetus and the onus is on us as individuals to take and talk to our representatives. And John, I'm gonna say let's have this for discussion with our committee. I think this is a topic that the committee should address.
Thank you.
Alan, I got another one here. Rick had talked about it a little bit where, especially on where we live, there's a lot of clear cutting going on right now. And I would say right now, probably the majority of it is to extend farming. Some of the bigger farmer down there is doing a lot of expanding, and that's great. I mean, that's what we're looking for. But there's been a few occasions that other farmers have come in and cut off a big area, farmed it 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden it got developed. Now, it wasn't a major subdivision or anything. I'm thinking of one right above my house there. It's probably 20, 25 acres, and it got split up into 5 lots. It looks good. There's nothing wrong with it. But then right on down the street from it, there was another area got up, and it was just basically on the 1 acre stuck up. Some of them were sold, some of them were rented. What is the rules with farming? How long do you have to farm that land if you clear cut it before you can develop it?
I know of no rule.
We have, that there is a state provision that for clear cutting. Now, if you clear cut it for farming and you want to farm it in perpetuity, you can do that. Now, if you clear cut it knowing that there are rules against clear cutting, we can hold up development on 3 years. So kind of, if you apply that to a farm buys it, clear cuts it, farms it for 3 years, and then turns it into a development, that's essentially fine.
Fulfill the 3-year
Exactly.
requirement.
Why couldn't we discuss with our entourage in Raleigh about adding a few years to that to discourage some of that? I mean, I get it. You gotta cut trees to grow stuff. But we don't necessarily need to cut them down to grow houses.
I think Bjorn is making notes as
We do have a slide with all the strategies that we're considering.
potential strategies. Maybe this covers some of them. Wow. Thank you, Amy. Potential strategies here. Expanding areas considered rural in the land use map. Well, and it could be expanded or reduced, either way. But in this case, expanding, I think. Increasing or reducing the number of commercial nodes. Enhancing buffering along streams and water bodies. And enhancing with that could be either increasing or decreasing, depending. Prioritizing land set aside in major subdivisions. And that would be determining how the set asides look, or the percentage of set aside in a major subdivision. Adding conditions to allow commercial uses on residential land without rezoning. Contractor that has 10 acres that works out of his home. And starts out with himself, and then he's got half a dozen people working for him. Expanding rural home occupation categories. Recommending new lot size requirements, where it be increasing density or reducing density, or increasing lot size or reducing lot size. Redefining lots of records to provide flexibility for future splitting of lots, and this is going back to the 78 ruling. Expanding conservation efforts to purchase easements.
Now, who would be purchasing these easements?
Who would be purchasing, and that depends on who has the money.
Would that be something the county would be involved in?
The county certainly can be. In the case of the soil and water conservation, what's being done now with this money, this development rights is an easement. The landowner continues to own the land, just can't be developed.
Right.
And so it meets, Derek, what David was speaking to about the land. You'd still be able to farm it because it would be only valued at its use value. But yeah, there's several entities. One of the challenges with it, and the state has programs, North Carolina Department of Agriculture has programs, USDA has programs. But if anybody in this room applies today, it's probably going to take 5 to 7 years before there would be any funding at a minimum. And lots of the land, it goes to what you're speaking, Rick, that the elderly couple, maybe they need it for health reasons, medical reasons. They don't have time. They don't have that 5, 7, 10-year window.
That's right.
And that was one of the initiatives of this program with the county, is to accelerate that, to where if someone says they want to and they meet the criteria, let's expedite it. Let's be able to get them some funds, get the program, conserve those open spaces. So, evaluating private engineered and permitted septic systems. The steering committee has looked at that. In fact, Tracy sits on the committee as a advisor to the steering committee.
Now, this is something we as a board have a problem with. When our own folks with the, whatever department, I can't remember the name of the department now, or the septic, environmental health. When the privileges are taking away from the in-house checking, you can hire an outside engineer to come in, and regardless what the environmental health says, enough money will get anything done. I would like to see something happen in our environmental health department, that if it takes hiring an engineer, hiring somebody that can kind of take some of these duties away from this private engineered, because I don't think it's right to Union County to say, okay, guys, you're out of it. I've got an engineer here that's going to tell you what you can do. And our environmental health can only go out and give a final approval, but they can't inspect it, they can't touch it, they can't do anything with it. We as a board, I think, we all have problems with that.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but it will require, unless I'm misinformed, it will require action by our legislature to change that.
My biggest problem with it is, we own it. We own it after, and we didn't have nothing to do with, we didn't have anything to do with putting it in
When-
there.
when it
But then
fails,
when it
who
fails,
owns
it's where's the private engineer then?
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Well, we had that situation come up before us, I think the last meeting, on a project. And I brought up to them, look, we got handed somebody's problem in the Weddington area years back. And if you allow a big, large group of homes to be built, these homes are financed through a bank. There's loans against them. And then for whatever reason, this septic field, it fails, the pressure's gonna be put on somebody here to fix the problem. And you know where that, from experience, you know where it always falls back
I
on.
know exactly where it goes. The county is the one to be ultimately responsible. This has happened for decades now with private wastewater treatment plants that were allowed to be built privately, but then when they failed, the county had to take them over.
I feel like that basically, if an engineering firm can design a system to make it work, I think our environmental health people should have the availability or the technology to do the same thing and yet keep it in-house, so that the county has some control over it. For, as Darren and Mark was saying, for future problems that can come back. But right now, we're tied.
I take it a step further than that. I don't think a development should be allowed to be built until the amenities there is already, the infrastructure's there that's in place to go ahead and connect into the county sewer and all that. I mean, just like last meeting, the commissioners had something brought before them of a pump station for a second part of a subdivision that Indian Trail approved. And thank God they denied it. But here's another problem we have in this county. We've got a municipality approving things.
Not just one.
No, it's a bunch of them. But we have a municipality approving something and giving a builder the okay to do this. And then when it comes down to it, there's another part of it that the county taxpayers is gonna have to foot. Because that particular one, the way it was gonna be set up, it was in a position to where no other than this development would be able to be serviced by it, so you were totally committed to just the income this water and sewer would have got off of the places in that area that would go in it. And then adding the cost to the taxpayer of, if I remember correctly, if you figured the initial cost of $1 million that the developer paid, I think the 20-year on it was 2.7 or something in that neighborhood. That would be the replacement cost for the county taxpayer that had no input whatsoever about the development being built in the first place. And they done the right thing, and I applaud them for it, but this stuff needs to stop.
Again, representatives, this is Raleigh. But this is a strategy that this steering committee is looking at.
Well, I would like to see that the rules, laws, whatever need to be set, are so that the people responsible for creating something are ultimately responsible for bearing the cost of anything that goes wrong. And so what I would like to see is when somebody wants to build 1, 2, or more, especially a large number of houses, but even 1 or 2 in an existing community, then I think our local government's role should be to give them all the pertinent information, soil, water, whatever. Give them all the pertinent information we have. Then that's with the understanding, if you proceed with this and down the road the community suffers damages, you will be financially liable. And I think making the rules so that people that create are responsible for the consequences of what they create.
And I think most people would agree with you. The challenge is not in the thought of doing it, but how do you enforce it?
And the issue with it is, 10 years down the road, if the developer goes bankrupt, then who's responsible? It's hard to put that in writing.
Or they change the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been sold 5 times and they
Well, it's not just that, it's, and case in point is Crestwood up there on 2427. They're fixing to turn it all over to the HOA. Guess what's gonna happen? Yeah, it's gonna tank.
Well, I think you understand where we're coming from. If you could convey this through your committee and kind of help with it,
Well,
just give us some
well,
feedback
this-
on it.
Our committee is very much attuned to what y'all are saying about this. Now,
Good
So-
deal. Thank you, sir.
Well, let's go back to another thing you was talking about, the roads in Union County. The infrastructure we have. Most people don't understand, other than the 74s and the major roads. Most of these roads were dirt roads. They brought in a road scraper, scraped it up, smoothed it out, and put tar and gravel on it. And if you're lucky enough, later on, they've come by and put asphalt over the top of it. But the whole problem is, the base of it is still the base of the original dirt road. It's not like what you would be building on a 74 or something like that. So you build these developments in there, and all these heavy trucks come in with the stuff to build it with. Well, the next thing you know,
hauling produce.
yeah, we haul produce down there. But you know, the next thing you know, the road's all to pieces. Yeah, we haul it to Piedmont Produce.
Any other comments?
Yes, I think that, one of the answers to some of the long-term effects that could happen in 10 years is bonding. And bonds are available, they're not cheap, but the developer can get a bond. Most have to have a bond for the bank, and then the bond would extend on. And then maybe 5 years beyond the life, after they're complete, maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever we're comfortable with. But they're expensive, but they could build that into the cost.
Everything else is expensive, but it's also expensive to have to take and clean up their mess too.
Sometimes more expensive.
I would just say that my biggest, all my life, I've been around here a long time, but keeping Union County rural is very important to me. But the second thing is we've got to get commercial in here. We all know that, but I don't want to see commercial where rural is. Because if we don't get some more commercial, we're all going to suffer. I'd love to see more agribusiness. We need to, and I would hope that you guys are looking at that. And I just think it's awesome that we have the agribusiness that we have, but the more the merrier, that we could bring in, because we are number 3 in the state, and why not be, let's use that, let's leverage that to get more people in here with agribusiness. I think that's awesome, and I appreciate those who have that kind of operation. What you did out there and on your place, and Simpson Eggs and all the places like that out there, they're in Union County. They're big contributors to our county. Let's bring more of that. I hope that's in part of what y'all are looking at. So
Thank you,
be
Derek.
great. Anything else?
Well, go ahead.
He's still got a
Oh, yeah, I've still
Oh, you
got,
got
I've
more?
still got a whole.
he's
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you was
Oh,
almost done.
no,
He's got
no,
more to say.
no,
Oh.
I'm probably, what, 25% through?
I thought we were here.
No, here's your role.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
need a definition on that page you were on though, Alan, expanding rural home occupation categories.
Lee?
Sure. So a rural home occupation is essentially somebody lives on a piece of property, has a house, they want to operate some sort of business from that. In the ordinance, they're divided into 2 categories, one's suburban and one's rural. Suburban is kind of like your CPA who has an office in their home. A rural home occupation can be there's a little more flexibility with it. So maybe somebody operates a small landscaping business, for example. Maybe they've got a tractor and a trailer and some equipment, and they want to do that. So there's some outdoor storage allowed. So the idea there was to, maybe expand some of those categories. Maybe there's a farmer who has a ton of equipment that they're using on the farm, but maybe there's an opportunity for a second line of business there that they could utilize the same equipment. It's already there, it's already sitting there, so it's not causing any issue, but maybe that could be expanded and allowed as some sort of larger home occupation. But there's probably some consideration of lot size and things like that. Maybe a bigger lot, some more flexibility with the type of and intensity of rural home.
What if Derek wanted to open a barber shop?
Yeah, a barber shop's actually would be allowed in a suburban home.
That'd be good, Derek.
You did it inside your home?
I come let you cut my hair.
Darren, are you needing one?
Something we see, I get this phone call probably twice a week of someone who has their landscaping business, or some other type of contracting business like that, and they've outgrown their house situation, and they want to put it on some piece of property out in the country. And it can be small piece of property, big piece of property, and we have to say, you have to rezone to commercial. Like, oh man, I don't want to go through all that. And we're thinking, well, if you have 10 acres and you limited this landscaping business to 1 or 2 acres of that 10 acres in exchange for the other 10 being left in its undeveloped state, how is that different than an agricultural operation that's already exempt and allowed to exist already? That's given them flexibility, keeps that business in a more appropriate location. It gives flexibility for the property owners, kind of like what you were concerned about. But it also keeps land, or keeps operations out of residential districts where it's a nuisance.
That gets into adding conditions to allow, sort of that fifth bullet point down there, adding conditions to allow commercial uses.
Right.
Without rezoning.
Thank you.
Makes sense.
All right, I'm sorry I tried to jump ahead of you there. I didn't realize you had another slide.
Thank you,
I'm
Darren.
glad you realized you had one.
Yeah, well, I prepared them.
I was just checking to see if you were
Yeah, that's
paying
right.
attention.
I was double checking you.
So the role of the Land Use Board, make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners, but participate with this steering committee. Feedback, recommendations, concerns, just like you're doing. This is important, because this is, the more fingerprints that are on these strategies, the better they are.
Now, one thing I'd like to ask you on this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How many are on the steering committee?
7 members, eight members, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 advisors, 3, 4.
Well, it could be more, because we've got a list of people and things we're going to bring back to talk about based on some of the conversation here.
But yeah, 8, and it's broad spectrum. 2 of us directly from the agricultural arena, and others will have environmental concerns, will have density concerns, and these types of things. So,
On these recommendations or things that we have spoke about, will you guys be coming back to us with progress on letting us know, well, guys, we tried this, but it didn't work, we tried to get some
if you
information.
will allow it, absolutely.
Sure. I think what we've talked about tonight is very important to this board and to the county. And if we could get some kind of a feedback as progress is being made, we'd appreciate it.
Well, that's one of the charges to this to the steering committee, is to provide feedback to the land, to your board, to the land
What is
use
your
board.
schedule on that? Every 2-3 months or every 6 months, or as far as giving us feedback on what we have talked about?
There's not a timeline criteria on it. I'm going to say that my thought on it, Rick, is when we have something,
Okay, that'd be good.
not to come just for the sake of coming,
All right.
but when we have something to come with,
Oh, that'd be great.
or to come for, that we're asking for your feedback. Sure. So, Bjorn?
I'm good.
Sir?
Their timeline's a year.
So, yeah, but I would think that maybe once a quarter type
Oh, that'd be
thing
great.
would be, would maybe be pertinent. So, and then the role of commissioners is, the commissioners is to provide feedback to this steering committee, and then approve a plan, and the plan they approve to implement the strategies. Because part of the feedback we got from the survey that was taken was people didn't believe that the strategies would be adopted and would be done.
Right. It's that old thing, we do it, we put it on a shelf.
We
and
put it
never
on the
touch
shelf, we take and we say,
We-
wow, look what we've got.
Yeah. We have a history of that.
Well, hopefully everybody will take and do their job of holding everybody accountable.
Absolutely.
It's not just holding one entity accountable, it's across the board. So,
I think the fact that we're here tonight talking about this is the fact that we've been held accountable from the 2050 plan. That we're-
Yes, sir.
Because this would have probably still be on the shelf in the past. We would have talked about it, but never got here. And
Right.
so I think we're seeing progress, and I'm happy to see that.
So now,
Oh, yeah, anything else?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes,
So you were
sir.
talking about earlier about buying the property, development rights. Who's actually buying that and who has control of that?
who has control of, the landowner has control of the property after it's done.
But the actual building rights?
The building rights, there are no building rights. Now,
So you're purchasing the building rights to prevent any type of building?
purchasing the development rights to where the property cannot be developed. Now, there are components of it to where there can be 1, 2, maybe up to 3 lots or so that can be set aside initially for family, to where someone, be carved out, if you will. That's not part of the land that the development rights are purchased from. So there, it can be carved out, whatever the person wants to, that they can leave to their children, grandchildren, whomever they want to, for building sites. But the development rights, it can't be developed. The land, again, the land stays, the deed stays in the name of the person that currently owns it. It's merely that the development right is affixed to the deed to where no development can be done on it,
Ever at all.
ever. Perpetuity.
So that can't be changed by a much more progressive board in the future?
That part, once it's done, that part cannot be changed.
When that person dies and the heirs take it,
Heirs take it,
they can't sell it to a developer.
The deed is just, doesn't change at all. That property is still owned by whomever. The person, the entity that owns the property can sell it. They can give it away. They can do whatever they want to, just like they do before they sell the development rights.
Right.
But with that, no development.
But that owner can still farm on it and,
Can still farm on it. They still get the proceeds from the farm, from the farming. If they're renting it or if they're farming it themselves, they still get the income from that, but they can never develop it.
gotcha.
Okay, so you got,
The trees, if they're growing trees, same way. They can harvest the trees. They can, the expectation would be they replant the trees. And Soil and Water Conservation District will monitor this to make sure that a plan is being lived up to, as far as the not being developed, that's one, but that it is being utilized in a purposeful manner.
okay, so if I've got a 100-acre farm, I pass away, I give 20 acres to 5 kids. Does that go with those 5 deeds?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it can never be, no matter how many times the deed changes hands?
No, sir. That's correct. That is forever.
So a board, a much more progressive board or something, can't come in and declare eminent domain or something and take advantage of what we're trying to set
No,
up?
sir. It's real. It has teeth. And, not, oftentimes, and what you're saying is, I'm gonna say, a lot of the actions that are taken by government can be overthrown, can be changed, can be massaged, maneuvered by another board, by another entity in there. This is cut, dried, it's done.
By what authority can that be done?
Mine.
There you go.
State of North Carolina.
So it is through the state of North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
And not just through Union County?
It's not through Union County.
Okay.
Union County would just be a participant in it.
That is correct.
That's wonderful.
Okay. Any other questions? I want to thank each of you for number one, listening, but more so for your interest, your involvement, your feedback, because we will take it. This steering committee meets once a month, the third Tuesday each month at 11:30 in the room directly behind you, Stony Russian Room, and welcome to attend. In fact,
Thank
I'd
you.
encourage it.
What time do y'all meet?
11:30.
11:30
Third
in the day.
During the daylight.
Well, night would be better for me. Can you change it?
Well, in fact, why don't you come at night and see if we've changed it?
So you want me to come wait on you?
Yeah, do that.
Thank you for your presentation,
y'all.
Alan.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Al.
All right, planning staff report. Anything to report?
Just that the public hearings for the two rezonings that you considered last time will be on March 3rd, so the next board meeting. That's the Gold Branch rezoning, the big one up there on off 218, and then the mini storage right there across from
Poke Mountain Grocery.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
Good deal.
Anybody got any comments?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Has there been any progress on the rumor about maybe a dollar store down there on the 601 area, South 601?
There was a pre-application.
Okay.
We have received an application for rezoning for a dollar store, approximately 10,000 square feet on 601 South. You won't see it for probably 2 to 3 months for a recommendation, but yes, one has been received.
Is it Dollar Tree, Dollar General, or?
I'm sure it's general. They're everywhere.
I mean,
There's one on
If it all-
Mars.
Travels fast in the southern part of the county.
well, if everything works out, I think it's a wonderful thing for the area, because right now, I mean, you know, if you live on that end of the county, you got to go into South Carolina and support Pageland. I
We
like
don't wanna
supporting
do that.
Union
We don't
County.
wanna do that. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Opposed?
Thank you.
We are closed.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm thinking about going somewhere and get me a banana split.
Split and get a split.
I think I'm going to get me a banana split.
Peanut butter and banana sandwich with mayonnaise on it.
I just had a banana sandwich for lunch.
It's getting chilly. I had to quit sucking on that water so fast. It's pretty good once in a while.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you're doing that.
You got to crap your pants one day when you pick that stick up that starts talking to you.
If that happens, I'll call you.
It'll be like Moses, ain't it?
Yeah, we'll be parting some seeds back there.
Was that on one of them there Harry Potter things that stick talk?
I mean, I've heard.
I've never been in
All
Harry
that
Potter. I
thing
can't do
on
it.
those snakes.
We love
If it does, I'm sending it to you.
Yeah, well, I don't, yeah, no.
That's what my wife said. That thing
Snakes,
there's
you're right. Things turn into snakes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Glad you're doing better, brother.
I'm glad to be
Glad,
back.
I'm glad to see you.
Glad to be here.
$20 over there, wait patiently for you.
My, I had really bad stenosis.
I wanted to say hi.
I appreciate it.
I'm one of your new neighbors.
From my 3 to 5 birthday, I had Ron's put in. It was pretty rough.
Well, that's what,
But I gotta be honest, I'm walking now without pain. It's slow, it's 5 weeks ago tomorrow.
We're gonna have
That's why I wasn't here last time.
It's gonna be a nice facility.
It's
And we
good now.
appreciate you. Y'all, if y'all are not looking forward to it, y'all do something good.
Oh, yeah, and it's helped greatly. I mean, I ain't lying, man. I hurt so bad, I slumped over for a year.
We can't wait.
It got so bad, I couldn't take it no more. Now, I don't have any pain in the back of my leg.
Anything you could do
It's great. It really
to
is.
get rid of that water problem.
Yeah, I've.
Would be
Would
helpful. No, I know, but I think that's,
Sir?
when you said it, when you didn't want it, but
I'll get it to you.
I don't know if they'll take it down. They will. Well, they told us to take $1,000 to take it down. It's just money. You won't make it? No. Well, we were hoping. talking because it's not being used,
Oh, yeah,
but
that's
they'll take
perfect.
the
It
fence
is
from
used.
it.
Yeah, because he's married.
Oh, I know, but
But I told, when I told,
And you know. Yes,
you know what I told him?
all right.
See you, Darren.
Take care of your dad.
Just will me power over there. I don't care how you get it there. Personal power. Sure.
Bye, Dion.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you. Excited.
See you, Darren. See y'all.
Y'all be well.
All right.
Not that it would matter, but so there's 256,000 some odd people in Union County, give or take, as of 2023. So
Let's give some of them.
how do we just get 200 responses?
Because, well, number one.
Not that it would, it's not gonna
Quite
matter.
honestly, it's pretty good response.
Yeah,
Because
but I was
it
gonna say,
just
the only,
put- It was put out just in a short period of
the
time.
only reason I even got to respond, I seen on Facebook, I wasn't even knowing about y'all's
See, that's
committee.
my problem. I don't get in it, because I don't have a Facebook
You're better
account.
off.
Well, I'm not, I know I am.
I don't.
But I would be, well, I mean, I know the county votes
But-
with the Board of Commissioners on their, you know, the red line.
But not many people in commissioners meetings, not many people are involved in, the next time, when it goes out again, there will be a broader
But I would love to know,
radio station.
I would love to know the percentage of the county that have our thoughts.
A high
Good.
percentage.
I mean, and I understand land rights. I
Hey,
get
let
that
the
too.
reason for it is, you just go ask anybody, and I don't care whether they just moved here from somewhere, they don't want anybody else moving here.
These people,
They're here, they don't want anybody else.
yeah, but look, these people move